come up with the compressor, which is more of a creative processor, where compression is meant to be heard, and well, it can be subtle, but it's meant to be an obvious sound. And although it shares the same electronics as the alpha compressor, the circuitry is tailored so that the hotter the level on the input, the more THD you get from the circuitry, so the more color you get in the end. It's a very punchy, very fast compressor. It shares some of the features you find on the alpha compressor, like the tilt EQ, like the autofast on the attack, but we also implemented some novel features on this one that are the anti-log on the release, the gain reduction limiter, and the range of the EQ is more extreme. It's bigger than on the alpha compressor, so that you can really get crazy, go crazy with it, and achieve things that you wouldn't be able to do with other types of compressors. It's got an external sidechain input, so you can use it for instance, for docking, or to achieve some groove sidechaining. The way it works, it's something that most people know these days, but the way it works, you have an external sidechain input, so you can run some audio through it, and this source will trigger the compression element of the compressor, and it's what will drive the compressor no matter what happens on the real input of the compressor. So once we engage it, then the external sidechain becomes the master, and so you can still play with the rest of the knobs to achieve what you want to get from the unit. It's a very aggressive type of compression when you drive it hard, especially since we have, because of its topology, which is feed-forward harmony, we get negative ratios. So as you can see, as soon as I get into negative ratios territory, we draw a lot of compression out of the unit, and that's where envelope shaping, envelope mangling, that's where you're gonna change your audio the most and get crazy with pumping effects, with breathing. All those things that for mastering wouldn't make sense in the context of most tracks, but where in the context of a production will be creatively rewarding. So same autofast, anti-log. So the way it works, by default we have a logarithmic release, but if you engage anti-log, you slowly go back to unity, and it gives this pumping effect. It goes slowly, but then all of a sudden it goes back to unity. So it gives you this pumping effect that you can hear on dense tracks these days. It makes things breathe like crazy. It's very, very special sound that works very well on the drum bus, for instance. It's the perfect compressor for a drum bus. Whether it's electronic music or acoustic music, doesn't matter. It's very effective. The gain reduction limiter is something that I like a lot, since it lets you decide on the amount of gain reduction, on the maximum amount of gain reduction you want to draw from the unit. So once you engage it and say, okay, I want to draw no more than 3 dB of compression, well, no matter what happens on threshold, attack, release, or ratio, well, we won't get more than 3 dB of gain reduction. 5 is good for you. Let's go with 5. You can have any level on the inputs, we won't get more than 5. So in the context of, say, working with an analog console where you figure it works best at 25 dBu, it gives you that special sound, but normally the lower threshold would give you too much compression. Just dial in the gain reduction limiter and decide on, okay, a dB and a half is what sounds the best for my track, and you will get that. So that's the compressor. Oh, and by the way, the gain knob goes back to the rest of the circuitry. So if you crank the gain knob, then you trigger, you get more THD out of the unit. So that can be useful if you're just looking for some mojo enhancement on your track without looking for any dynamic change in the audio.